Chosen ones, heed these words. This is your moment of revelation, your vindication, and your undeniable return. In the depths of life's struggles, when the world sought to mock you, to drag you down, and to break your spirit, they failed to realize one undeniable truth: God's plan is greater, and His timing is flawless. The laughter and jeers that they hurled in your direction have now turned into silence. The sneers that once mocked you have been swallowed by the profound quietness of a world that no longer has a hold over you. Your enemies, those who sought to see your downfall, are now scrambling in confusion, realizing too late that their plans have backfired. You are rising higher than they ever dared to imagine, not because of your own strength, but because of the power of the divine hand guiding you from behind the scenes. The enemy believed they had you cornered, boxed in by their schemes, their pride, and their arrogance. They thought they could silence your voice, lock you away in a cage of their own making. They built their traps with confidence, expecting you to fall, certain that your spirit would break under the weight of their attacks. But what they failed to see, what they could not possibly comprehend, was the invisible power that was working against their every move. While they set their traps, God was already dismantling their plans with precision. Every lie they whispered behind your back, every seed of doubt they planted in your heart, every door they slammed in your face, all of these things they hoped would break you. Instead, they became the very soil in which your purpose took root. What your enemies did not realize is that the very things they used to try to bring you down became the fuel for your rise. God does not watch idly as His children face opposition. He moves with purpose and precision, turning every setback into a setup for a divine comeback. Their mockery, their attempts to break you, were met with the laughter of God, not because He does not take the battle seriously, but because their arrogance was no match for His infinite power. When God is on your side, no weapon formed against you can prosper. As the prophet Isaiah declared, "No weapon that is formed against thee shall prosper, and every tongue that shall rise against thee in judgment thou shalt condemn." Isaiah 54 verse 17. What they meant for harm, God used as a springboard to elevate you to new heights. Through their betrayals, your discernment grew sharper. Through their rejections, God directed your path to better opportunities. Through their obstacles, your character was forged and your strength amplified. Now, as you stand victorious, you look around and see them, those who once laughed at you, frozen in disbelief. The smirks they wore are now replaced with fear, an unsettling realization that the very plans they devised to see your defeat have instead propelled you forward. Their arrogance has dissolved into a deep, quiet fear that they cannot even name. Psalm 37 verse 13 speaks to this divine reversal, saying, "The Lord shall laugh at him, for he seeth that his day is coming." What your enemies failed to grasp is that their confidence was misplaced. They calculated every move with arrogance, blind to the fact that God was aligning the pieces of the puzzle in His perfect timing. Their schemes were short-sighted, and their plans were doomed to fail because they did not consider the one who was always working on your behalf. The psalmist reassures us that the steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and He delighteth in His way. Psalm 37 verse 23. Even when your enemies thought they had you on the ropes, God was orchestrating your steps toward victory, preparing you for something greater than they could ever have imagined. Their schemes backfired because they underestimated the power of God in your life. Every plan they made, every word they spoke against you, every effort to push you down only worked in your favor. Their intentions meant to harm were turned upside down by the hand of God. What they thought would break you only served to strengthen you, and the very actions they took to isolate and defeat you became the very tools that God used to increase your resilience, your focus, and your strength. God's justice is perfect, and His timing is always impeccable. The battles you faced were not fought in vain. They were a necessary part of God's plan for you. While your enemies rejoiced prematurely, unaware that their victory was short-lived, God was setting the stage for your ultimate triumph. Like the great reversal described in the story of Joseph, where his brothers intended to harm him, but God used their betrayal for his eventual rise to power, so too have your struggles become the very foundation upon which your success is built. Joseph's words to his brothers in Genesis 50 verse 20 ring true. But as for you, ye thought evil against me, but God meant it unto good, to bring to pass, as it is this day, to save much people alive. What they did not see was God's divine justice unfolding behind the scenes, shaping your destiny while they were too consumed by their arrogance to notice. They thought their traps would ensnare you, but those very traps became their own downfall. Every sneer, every word of dismissal, every attack on your character ricocheted back on them, for God has promised that he will not be mocked. Galatians 6 verse 7. His divine laughter was not mocking, but a statement of his ultimate authority over every situation, reminding the enemy that their day of reckoning was certain and unavoidable. Now, as you stand in the place that God has prepared for you, you are a testament to his power, his grace, and his faithfulness. You did not rise through your own efforts, nor did you overcome by stooping to the level of your enemies. You rose because you allowed God to take what was meant for your harm and turn it into something good. This is the power that your enemies underestimated. This is the power that they could not reckon with, the power of a God who is always for you, who never leaves you, and who will never allow your enemies to triumph over you. Proverbs 21 verse 30 reminds us, there is no wisdom, nor understanding, nor counsel against the Lord. While your enemies thought they had it all figured out, they could not see the unseen hand of God moving in your favor. The plans they crafted with such certainty have now crumbled, leaving them with nothing but silence and defeat. And that silence speaks louder than any apology ever could. They know it now. You have won, not by your own strength, but by the strength and power of God. Their arrogance was their downfall, and now they must watch as you, the chosen one, rise higher than they ever dared to imagine. Your victory is not just a testimony of your resilience, but of the faithfulness of the one who holds your future. The very things they sought to use against you have now become the evidence of your divine protection, your strength, and your unwavering trust in God's plan for your life. And as you rise, you can be certain that God's justice is perfect, his timing is flawless, and his protection is unshakable. Your enemies have been exposed, their plans have been overturned, and you stand, unshaken, in the victory that only God could provide. This is the undeniable truth. The joke was never on you, it was always on them. It is divine justice and the stepping stones of faith. In life, there are moments when we feel like the weight of the world is pressing down on us, when our enemies, whether in the form of people, circumstances, or our own doubts, seem to have the upper hand. Yet, as believers in the divine plan of God, we must remember that those who think they are delivering our defeat may, in fact, be sowing the seeds of their own destruction. This is the awe-inspiring power of divine justice. What the world intends for our harm, God transforms into the stepping stones of our victory. It is a truth that echoes throughout Scripture, a reminder that God's timing is impeccable and his plans are unstoppable. The Bible teaches us that the Lord is a refuge for the oppressed, a stronghold in times of trouble. Psalm 9 verse 9. When our enemies plot against us, when they think they are triumphing over our spirits, they fail to recognize that they are not merely fighting against us, they are fighting against the will of God. Just as the Greeks believed they had outsmarted the Trojans by hiding inside the wooden horse, only to deliver themselves into their own defeat, so too do our adversaries unknowingly provide us with the tools for our ascension. In their arrogance, they fail to see that we, through our faith and resilience, are being prepared for the victory that is already ours in Christ. This is not a victory that comes from human might, but from the power of God's providence. Scripture reminds us that no weapon formed against you shall prosper, Isaiah 54 verse 17, and the plans of the wicked will ultimately fail. The traps they set for us, the words they use to tear us down, and the schemes they hatch to block our progress, are all used by God to refine us, to make us stronger, and to lead us on paths that take us higher. What they meant for our failure, God turns into the very foundation of our success. It is a divine reversal that cannot be thwarted. Like Joseph, who was betrayed by his brothers and sold into slavery, we too may experience moments where it seems that our enemies have won. But just as God turned Joseph's suffering into a platform for him to save an entire nation, so too does he use our struggles for his greater purpose. You intended to harm me, Joseph said, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. Genesis 50 verse 20. What others mean for our destruction, God uses to bring about our ultimate good. It's easy to become discouraged when we are mocked, ridiculed, or belittled by others. The world may laugh at our dreams, dismiss our ambitions, and doubt our strength. But as Christians, we know that mockery is never a reflection of our true worth. It is a reflection of their inability to comprehend the divine vision that God has placed within us. In their eyes, we may appear weak, vulnerable, and foolish, but God is using these very moments to strengthen our resolve and sharpen our focus. But God chose the foolish things of the world to shame the wise. 1 Corinthians 1 verse 27. The world may not understand us, but we are not called to conform to its standards. We are called to trust in God's plan and to walk by faith, not by sight. Consider the example of Jesus himself. In the eyes of the world, his crucifixion was a humiliating defeat. The mockery he endured, the insults hurled at him, the crown of thorns pressed upon his head, all seemed like the ultimate sign of his failure. Yet through his death, God brought about the greatest victory the world has ever known. The very act of his humiliation became the means by which we are reconciled to God. The mockery he endured was the prelude to the triumph of the resurrection. For the message of the cross is foolishness to those who are perishing, but to us who are being saved it is the power of God. 1 Corinthians 1 verse 18. Similarly, those who laugh at you today, who dismiss your dreams as impossible, who mock your faith as naive, may one day look back with regret. They may come to realize that their words were not a reflection of your inadequacy, but a projection of their own limitations. They were not laughing at your potential, they were laughing because they could not understand the depth of your calling. Just as Vincent van Gogh's art was rejected in his time, only to be celebrated as masterpieces decades later, so too will your true value be recognized in God's perfect timing. It is essential to understand that the mockery and ridicule we face are not a reflection of who we are, but a reflection of who they are. They mock what they cannot comprehend. They belittle what they fear. They dismiss what they do not understand. But God has a plan for those who walk in faith. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Matthew 5 verse 10. Their laughter is temporary, but your legacy is eternal. Now, more than ever, it is important for us to recognize the power of our resilience. Every insult, every sneer, every moment of doubt that has been cast upon us becomes the very fuel for our transformation. We do not let their words define us. Instead, we let the word of God define us. We are his chosen, his beloved, and nothing can separate us from his love. Romans 8 verse 39. Every setback is a setup for a comeback. Every obstacle is an opportunity for God to show his power in our lives. The chosen ones, those who walk by faith and not by sight, often find themselves on paths less traveled. They are the silent guardians, the watchful souls, always awake, always vigilant. They do not fit the mold, and they wouldn't have it any other way. While others walk familiar paths, they forge their own, trusting in God's guidance every step of the way. It is not an easy path, but it is a path that leads to victory. As Psalm 23 verse 4 says, "Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me, your rod and your staff, they comfort me." To those who feel that they are walking in the shadows, who feel that their dreams are being mocked, take heart. The journey may be long, and the trials may be many, but God is with you. The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and he delighteth in his way. Psalm 37 verse 23. He is using every challenge to refine you, to strengthen you, and to prepare you for the greater things he has in store. When your enemies think they are winning, when the world seems to laugh at your dreams, remember this: God's plan is far greater than any human strategy. What the world intends for harm, God uses for good. And in the end, it is not their voices of mockery that will matter, it is the voice of God that will declare your victory. I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future. Jeremiah 29 verse 11. So, let us stand firm in our faith, knowing that what is meant for our destruction will become the foundation of our triumph. As we walk this journey of faith, let us keep our eyes fixed on the eternal, for our legacy, like the promises of God, will never fade. The Obsidian Inner Order is here, a place where kindred spirits gather to share wisdom, to connect, to transform. Over 450 strong, united not by conformity, but by purpose. If you're ready, you know where to find us. The link is in the description. If not, that's perfectly fine, because we're always here, watching over, making a difference in ways unseen. Here's to those who walk their own path, not for recognition, but because it's who they are. Here's to you. Thank you. They thought rejection would break you, that closing doors would leave you powerless. They didn't understand that rejection wasn't your downfall, it was the fire that revealed your unshakable core. Every no they gave you, every opportunity denied, was a test of your endurance, not a measure of your worth. While they believed they had sidelined you, all they truly did was strip away distractions, leaving you with the raw determination to rise. You didn't crumble under pressure, you thrived in it. The walls they built to box you out became the boundaries of your battlefield, a place where you refined your strength and sharpened your skills. Their refusal to see your potential didn't diminish it. Instead, it gave you the clarity to see yourself fully, beyond their limited perception. Each setback they orchestrated only pushed you deeper into the reserves of your inner power. The strength they tried to suppress has grown into something unstoppable. Their rejection didn't weaken you, it emboldened you. You've built yourself from the ground up, piece by piece, with a resolve that their acceptance could never have provided. They underestimated you, dismissed you as irrelevant, and wrote you off before the race even began. They whispered doubts and projected their insecurities onto you, believing their judgment had sealed your fate. What they didn't realize was that their underestimation wasn't a setback, it was your greatest advantage. By disregarding you, they handed you freedom, space to grow without interference, to sharpen your skills while they grew complacent. Every closed door redirected you to better opportunities. Every doubt fueled your determination. While they celebrated prematurely, you were quietly laying the groundwork for something they could never anticipate. They thought they were ahead, but they miscalculated the strength of someone who knows the value of patience and preparation. Then, when the timing was right, you emerged. No more whispers, no more doubts. Your impact was undeniable, and they couldn't stop what they had failed to see coming. Their underestimation didn't weaken you, it amplified your drive and exposed their arrogance. The very ones who dismissed you are now struggling to keep up, questioning how they failed to recognize your power. Chosen ones, their dismissal was never about your worth, it was about their inability to see past their own limitations. Your timing wasn't slow, it was divine. Now that you've arrived, there's no stopping the force of your impact. What they missed out on will forever be their loss, but your rise is the only story that matters. What they dismissed as failure has become the foundation of your victory. I once met a group who faced rejection from their dream company over and over again. Each attempt was met with a polite dismissal or outright silence. Most would have given up, but they didn't. Instead, they took that rejection and used it as fuel, pouring their energy into building something of their own. What began as a small idea grew into a thriving business, a direct competitor to the company that had turned them away. Years later, that same company approached them, not with another rejection, but with an offer for a partnership. Their story is proof that rejection isn't an ending, it's a redirection. When the doors you want don't open, it's often because you're meant to build your own. Your greatest strengths are forged in those moments of denial, and what they withhold from you can lead to opportunities far beyond what you thought possible. J.K. Simmons's career is a powerful illustration of persistence in the face of obscurity. For decades, he worked tirelessly in supporting roles, his immense talent often overlooked by the spotlight. While others sought quick fame, Simmons quietly honed his craft, building a body of work that showcased his range and depth. He wasn't the loudest voice in the room, nor did he demand attention. He simply did the work, laying a foundation that would later make his rise undeniable. It wasn't until his 6th decade of dedication that his breakout moment arrived. His performance in Whiplash earned him an Academy Award, and suddenly he was celebrated as a master of his craft. But his success wasn't sudden, it was the result of years of preparation. Like Simmons, your rise may not be immediate, but when your moment comes, it will prove that persistence and preparation were always the winning strategy. Now they realize their mistake. Your calmness wasn't weakness, it was the strength that left them completely outmatched. They tried to stop you because they saw what you could become. Their sabotage wasn't a sign of your weakness, but their fear. They saw your potential rising, and it terrified them. They placed obstacles in your way, thinking they could halt your progress. They whispered doubts to others, hoping to isolate you. They schemed, convinced that silencing you would preserve their fragile sense of control. But they underestimated one critical truth: the fire inside you burns brightest under pressure. When they blocked your path, you forged a new one. Every barrier they placed before you forced you to grow stronger, to think sharper, to act with precision. Their efforts to silence you only amplified your voice, like Malala Yousafzai, whose adversaries sought to quiet her courage. The very attacks meant to break her became the foundation of her global impact. Her voice, born of defiance against oppression, became a rallying cry for millions. You too transformed their sabotage into strength. While they spent their energy trying to stop you, you spent yours building. They wasted their focus plotting against you, unaware that each misstep would lead to their downfall. Your downfall was never meant to be. While you refined your skills in the fire of adversity, their plans didn't destroy you. Instead, they revealed the resilience they never anticipated. Each attempt to weaken you became another lesson, another step in your ascent. What they failed to realize was that their relentless attacks were the very thing that forged your character and fortified your resolve. The energy they used to block you has now rebounded onto them. You stand taller, stronger, and more determined than ever, your voice ringing with the clarity of someone who has been tested by fire. They tried to sabotage you, but instead they sharpened you. Their fear of your rise became the very thing that fueled it, propelling you forward with a strength they could never comprehend. They misunderstood you entirely. Your quiet nature, your calm demeanor, your refusal to retaliate, it wasn't weakness, it was restraint. Power held in perfect balance. They saw your peace as submission, your silence as defeat, and they grew emboldened in their arrogance. They assumed that because you didn't fight on their terms, you couldn't fight at all. But they were wrong, and their miscalculation will be their undoing. What they didn't see was the storm you were preparing, not through chaos, but through strategy. While they were busy underestimating you, you were quietly laying the foundation of something unshakable. Your restraint wasn't born of fear, but of wisdom. You understood that true strength is not in loud declarations or aggressive displays, but in the quiet confidence that comes from measured action. They mocked your patience, unaware it was the very thing keeping you 2 steps ahead. You were never meek, you were calculating. You allowed their arrogance to blind them, all the while positioning yourself for a victory they didn't see coming. Your peace was a weapon, a shield that deflected their attacks and left them disoriented. The Japanese concept of ma, the power of silence and space, teaches that restraint is not a lack of action but a deliberate strategy. In martial arts, fighters use ma to create openings, anticipating their opponent's movements without wasting unnecessary energy. A well-timed pause can disarm an adversary more effectively than an aggressive attack, turning their own momentum against them. You embodied this principle. Your calmness wasn't passivity, it was precision. While they charged forward, assuming your silence was submission, you were observing, preparing, and waiting for the right moment. Their underestimation of your restraint became their undoing, leaving them vulnerable and exposed. What they saw as inaction was actually mastery. Your ability to control your response and conserve your energy made you untouchable, a force that could not be swayed or broken by their attacks. The patience they thought was weakness was, in reality, your greatest strength. Chosen ones, remember this: what they meant for harm has only solidified your purpose. They aimed to stop you, but in doing so, they became the fuel for your unstoppable ascent. Their efforts to diminish you only strengthened your resolve and steeled your determination. Let them witness the result of their efforts. It is the rise they could never prevent, no matter how hard they tried. They see it now, even if they'll never say it aloud. The same ones who doubted you, mocked your efforts, and dismissed your value now watch in quiet disbelief as you succeed. They never expected you to rise, never believed you had the strength to defy their expectations, but here you are, thriving in ways they can no longer ignore. The fear they once projected onto you is now their own, and it eats away at their confidence as they realize that your ascent is inevitable. Now, if this resonates with your journey, you may comment below: "Rejection built my empire." Let's show the world that setbacks are just stepping stones to greatness. If you wish to, you may also help this message reach others who need to see it by liking this video. Let us stand united in our triumphs, reminding ourselves that no force can stop us once we realize the power within. In the stillness of their silence, a truth far more profound than any apology resonates. The same voices that once sought to undermine you, casting doubt upon your every step, now find themselves speechless, confronting the undeniable reality of your impact. They thought you were insignificant, that their judgments and criticisms would define your worth, believing that you couldn't rise above their scrutiny without their approval. Yet, with every deliberate move you made, you proved them wrong, not with defiance or words, but through results that could not be ignored. Your success is not merely a reflection of personal achievement, it is a testimony to the divine strength and resilience that lies within you, a resilience they never anticipated. In moments of silence, when your name is whispered among them, it evokes a storm of emotions: regret, envy, and above all, a reluctant acknowledgement of the power they once tried to diminish. They may never admit it, not to you, nor even to themselves, but deep within, they know. They know the barriers they placed in your way only served to push you higher, to propel you toward a destiny they failed to foresee. In their hearts, they know that your worth cannot be denied, no matter how vehemently they wish to pretend otherwise. It is in this silent acknowledgement that the truth of God's plan for you unfolds, an undeniable truth that shines brighter than any praise they could offer. This is where faith enters the picture, for a Christian sees not only the world through their own eyes, but through the lens of God's divine purpose. In times when others have tried to define you, dismiss your potential, or belittle your journey, God is at work in ways that human judgment cannot fathom. The Apostle Paul reminds us in Romans 8 verse 28 that all things work together for good to those who love God, to those who are called according to his purpose. It is through the crucible of adversity, through the fire of ridicule, that God refines his children, preparing them for greater things. Your story is not shaped by the opinions of others, but by God's sovereign hand, working in ways that are often unseen, but always powerful. Much like Dr. Ignaz Semmelweis, whose life and work illustrate the profound power of perseverance, your journey may not always be understood at first. Semmelweis, who in the 19th century advocated for the life-saving practice of hand-washing, faced ridicule and rejection by the very medical community that should have embraced his groundbreaking discovery. His peers, blinded by their own arrogance, dismissed his findings as unworthy of serious consideration, just as others may have dismissed your potential or laughed at your persistence. Despite this, Semmelweis never wavered in his commitment to what he knew was right. His refusal to abandon the truth of his discovery, even when faced with overwhelming opposition, ultimately led to a revolutionary change in medicine. Though he died in obscurity, his legacy is now cemented as a foundational pillar of modern healthcare. In the same way, the impact of your life is not contingent upon the approval of those who criticize or mock you. Their laughter, their dismissal, only serves to fuel the fire within you, to deepen your resolve. Like the tortoise in Aesop's fable, who wins the race not by speed but by steadfast determination, you know that it is not the flashy bursts of success that matter, but the consistent, disciplined pursuit of your calling. The world may not understand your pace, may even mock it, but God sees the steady, persistent steps you take toward the finish line. Proverbs 4 verse 25 to 27 advises us to let your eyes look straight ahead, fix your gaze directly before you. Give careful thought to the paths for your feet, and be steadfast in all your ways. This steadfastness, this focus, is what defines the victorious life, not the fleeting moments of quick success that others may chase. In the quiet of your journey, you are not alone. God walks with you, guiding each step, strengthening your resolve, and turning every moment of hardship into an opportunity for growth. Like the Israelites who wandered in the desert, waiting for God's timing, your waiting is never in vain. Hebrews 12 verse 1 to 2 encourages us to run with perseverance the race marked out for us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of faith. Your focus is not on the fleeting opinions of others, nor on the temporary setbacks they throw in your path, but on the eternal purpose God has set before you. The very persistence that they deem unnecessary or slow is, in fact, the divine strength that will carry you through. While others race ahead, seeking recognition and instant gratification, you remain steadfast, committed to the journey. You build quietly, working diligently, day by day, knowing that God sees your every effort, even when others fail to acknowledge it. Your work is not for their praise, but for the glory of God's plan unfolding in your life. Philippians 1 verse 6 assures us, being confident of this, that he who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ Jesus. Your purpose, your calling, is rooted in God's eternal wisdom, not in the opinions of others. And as you continue to walk in faith, your impact will speak louder than any words of praise or criticism. It will be undeniable, a testament to the strength that comes from knowing who you are in Christ and trusting that, in His time, all things will come together for your good. As you look back on the obstacles they once placed in your way, you will see that they were never barriers but stepping stones, propelling you forward toward a purpose far greater than any temporary setback. In the end, it is not about the applause of those who doubted you, but about the faithful God who called you, equipped you, and sustained you through it all. Your story is not over, it is just beginning. And in the end, your success will be a testament not to your own strength, but to the power of God working through you for His glory. In the early stages, they laughed at you, mocking your dreams, your plans, and your persistence. But today, their laughter has died down, replaced by silence as they watch you ascend to heights they could never imagine. What they failed to see then, what they could not comprehend, was that you were not relying on superficial charm or fleeting trends, but on the solid foundation of faith and purpose. The truth is, while they danced on the surface, you were rooted deep in something far greater, a divine calling that could never be derailed by the winds of ridicule or doubt. As Scripture reminds us in Romans 8 verse 28, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose." Your success is not just the result of hard work or perseverance, it is a testimony to the power of faith in God's plan for your life. They mocked you because they were blinded by their own limited understanding. Their laughter was not a reflection of who you are, but rather an expression of their inability to perceive the unique vision that God had planted within you. As Proverbs 3 verse 5 to 6 tells us, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your path straight." They could not see the depth of your calling, nor could they understand the strength of your resolve. What they failed to recognize was that your journey was never about impressing them, nor was it ever meant to be. The vision you carry is not for everyone to understand. It's a divine plan, a blueprint designed by God Himself, and He alone knows the purpose behind every twist and turn of your life. And now, as you stand in the fullness of your purpose, their mockery has turned to quiet reflection. They see what they could not have seen before, that what God has called you to is unstoppable. They cannot deny the evidence of your success, the fruit of your faith, the power of resilience and divine favor. Every insult you endured, every moment of rejection you faced, every challenge that seemed designed to break you, it was all a part of God's refining process. It was through the fire that your character was strengthened, and through the storms that your faith was purified. As Isaiah 43 verse 2 says, "When you pass through the waters, I will be with you, and when you pass through the rivers, they will not sweep over you." The very things they meant to use against you became the stepping stones that led to your victory. God's plan was unfolding, and with every step He was revealing the strength He had placed within you. You are living proof that resilience outlasts mockery. The world may laugh at those who walk by faith, but in the end it is faith that sustains, faith that prevails. Your purpose is greater than any human doubt, stronger than any earthly challenge. The arrogance and dismissiveness of others are temporary, but the truth of your calling is eternal. Psalm 23 verse 5 reminds us that you prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. This verse speaks of God's ability to elevate us even in the midst of opposition. Where others see defeat, God sees opportunity for divine promotion. The laughter has ceased because the truth cannot be ignored any longer. The path that seemed uncertain, the dream that was once mocked, has now become undeniable proof of God's presence in your life. You are a living testament to the power of waiting on God's timing, trusting in His plan, and holding firm to the belief that His purpose for your life will never fail. This is just the beginning. The battles you fought and won are merely the foundation of a greater legacy, one that will continue to unfold as you walk further in God's plan. So, let this be a reminder to you your story is far from over. The victory you see today is only a glimpse of the greater purpose that God is working out in your life. The road ahead may not always be smooth, but know that with every step you take, God is with you, strengthening you, guiding you, and ensuring that your purpose will always prevail. As Philippians 1 verse 6 affirms, being confident of this, that He who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ Jesus. Your journey has proven that when God is at work, nothing can stop His plan. Keep moving forward, for your best is yet to come. And share this with others who may be struggling, those who need to hear that even in the face of mockery and doubt, victory is not only possible, it is promised. Nothing can stop a purpose set in motion by God. Keep trusting, keep waiting, keep believing. The best is truly ahead of you.